Hey, did you know Robert Pattinson is actually a good actor? If you didn't, let me show you some proof. Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new video, and today we're gonna talk about Robert Pattinson. So, we all know Twilight sucks, right? Even if you love the movies, part of being a fan of the saga is knowing it sucks. And that's totally fine, we all have bad movies that we love. What it's not fine is thinking Robert Pattinson is a bad actor just because he starred in them. Ever since it was announced he was going to play the new Batman, there's been so much backlash towards this decision because the first image that pops in many people's heads when they hear his name is Edward Cullen. But the truth is, this guy right here is old news. Ever since Twilight came to an end, Robert has dedicated his career on doing independent films that, although haven't had the same worldwide success, they've made him becoming one of the most exciting actors working today. So, if you're one of those people who's still not quite sure about Robert Pattinson's acting skills, in this video I'll show you 5 movies I highly recommend you to see if you'd like to have more perspective about what to expect from our next Bruce Wayne. Number 5. Cosmopolis. If you're a fan of those stories that are not easy to understand because they say and do things that at first seem to make absolutely no sense, but you know it has to mean something and you enjoy the challenge of trying to figure it out, then this movie is for you. Cosmopolis is basically about the end of capitalism and how it affects on a young billionaire who sees how his empire starts to fall apart. Robert plays this very young man who's so successful and so rich and full of glory that comes to a point where he doesn't feel like a human anymore. He seems to be above everything that happens around him, but all of that changes when he decides to go to get a haircut and he drives in his limo all across Manhattan. During this ride, he has several meetings with different characters and finds himself in the middle of traffic jams caused by different situations. And we can see how these situations affect him in a way that he becomes more and more vulnerable to the point that he starts to do things in order to make him feel alive again and escape from the horrible life he had when he started the journey. This movie was actually the first time people started to realize Robert was something more than just a sparkly vampire. And I've read some comments of people saying this character reminds them of a young Bruce Wayne. Number 4. The Rover. This story takes place in a sort of a dystopian world where the economy has collapsed and all that is left is a desolate desert where we can hardly see any sort of human interaction. And when we see it, crime and poverty is mostly involved. A lonely man starts to follow the steps of the thieves who've stolen his car, and along the way he comes across with one of the thieves' brother who was left behind because he was injured in a previous robbery that went wrong. So he decides to take him with him, partly as a hostage, but with time they become not exactly friends, but let's say partners in crime. This is a road trip movie, so we see the characters going from one point to another. And they always get involved in very dense situations where they basically save each other's lives over and over and over again. So they eventually create a bond, and when they're not in danger, they get to have these conversations to get to know each other, and that's how we get to know them as well. Even though Robert's character is not the main plot of the movie, you find yourself being very interested about his story, why he is the way he is, and why he pretty much gladly accepts to go with a dangerous stranger in the pursuit of his brother's gang. It is such a good performance, I was so happy when I saw it. Number 3. High Life. If you're the type of person who loves when a movie leaves you with the feeling of having an existential crisis, you are totally gonna love this one. High Life is about a group of criminals with death sentences that are sent on a mission in space to study the possibility of extracting energy from black holes. It is implied this pretty much could be a suicide mission, but that's a risk the prisoners are willing to take as long as they feel a little bit of freedom from the life they have behind bars. Robert Pattinson plays the main character. He's one of the criminals volunteering for the job, but after some time living in the spaceship, he also realizes there's a doctor who wants to do sexual experimentation with the people on board. When we met the character, he is alone in the spaceship taking care of his baby daughter. And then the movie takes us back on time to tell us the story of how he ended up that way. This movie is all about the interpretation of human condition in many different ways, and Robert nails it in each and every one of them. He doesn't have too much dialogue, but he doesn't need it to make us feel what he wants us to feel. And the chemistry he has with the baby is just extremely cute. Number 2. The Lighthouse. This is a horror movie about two lighthouse keepers in the 1890s who spent 4 weeks working in a remote island. And during that time, they experience very strange situations, making them start to lose their minds. Robert Pattinson plays a young apprentice who has to follow all of Willem Dafoe's orders. And while doing his daily duties, he witnesses weird things that played with his sanity and becomes obsessed with wanting to know what happens at the top of the lighthouse. The movie addresses themes like mythology, homoeroticism, psychoanalysis, and alcoholism, and all that combines with the way it is filmed. All black and white with special effects and production design that really makes you feel you're watching a story from the late 19th century. What is so interesting to see about Robert here is his character's slow descent into madness. Like, he goes from being this very quiet, even shy character to someone who would express all kinds of feelings and emotions because the island is eating all of his senses. Number 1. Good Time. This is my favorite movie of him. It's about two brothers trying to rob a bank, but everything goes wrong, and when they try to escape, one of the brothers gets caught and sent to prison. So the movie is about the 24-hour odyssey Robert Pattinson has to go through in order to get his brother out of jail. The story takes place in that New York underworld surrounded by violence, drugs, sex, gravity, poverty, and all of those things tourists don't get to see when they go on vacation. Robert's character is someone you cannot relate with. All of his actions are wrong in all possible levels, and it's so sad to see it because he actually means well. He loves his brother, he feels guilty, and he wants to make things right, but that's something he's just not good at. He actually makes things going from bad to worse, and there's a moment when you're just like, can you please stop? Your plan is not working, man. Your brother is actually doing just fine in jail where he can stay away from you. This is just a hell of a performance. Honestly, I think this is a must-see in everyone's life. And I'm not even talking about just Robert Pattinson anymore. The movie as a whole is just mind-blowing. It's so good. I love it so much. One thing all of these movies have in common is that every one of them were considered as Robert Pattinson's best work. So this means that he's been just getting better and better and better and better with every new movie he makes. So I like to think we're gonna be fine with his Batman. He's very committed to his roles, and I think he knows this character is important to people. So let's trust him. If you like this video, please let me know in the comment section below and subscribe so you get to see more videos like this. You can also follow me on social media where you will find me as Denise McCool. Thank you for watching and see you next time!